I got you. Welcome back, guys, to the Radio Rejekts podcast. I am Sabby. It's been a pleasure to be back. I'm here with two great gentlemen, two very close friends of mine. My guy Lou, y'all know him.
What's up? What's up?
And my homie Younis.
What's going on, man?
So Younis is someone that I admire a lot. Someone I've met, I think maybe going close to maybe 2 years now.
Yes, sir.
That relationship has grown through every.
Has it really been 2 years?
Almost, right?
Acquaintance,
Almost
yeah.
Since
I
my
don't
buddy
really,
days. My
yeah.
buddies.
I don't really count last year. I feel like last year was just like a skip year. You know what I mean? So everything was just like went up a bit. But Younis, I'm a pleasure to have you here, brother.
Thank you for having me, man.
To talk about just your art, your story, where you at now, where you're going, and just let's jump into things.
Let's do it. First of all, I want to say thank you for having me, and you're a person I admire a lot too. I'm not just saying that because the camera's recording. I really do mean it. I think you're super talented, and I appreciate you for having me, by the way.
Thank you.
Very nice meeting you, Lou, as well.
All love.
He's like, you cool too.
Like
this man right
Yeah,
here.
you cool with him? You must be cool.
So, like we were talking a little bit before the podcast started, and we kind of go into how we'll get a background of like all of these things. But comedy is one of those career paths
Yeah,
where it's scary.
it is. It could
It's
be.
scary. And then you also do music too.
Yeah.
So the combination of both those things, is it where you ideally want to have one thing pop off before the other, or is it kind of like one is assisting the other?
That's a great question. Honestly, I'm very new to trying to balance both. It used to be just comedy was the main thing that I love, and I've always loved music, but I just never thought I would be one making it. You know, I've just always been a fan of like, you know, so many different artists, and I think where it comes down to is I really love writing. So the way I got into music was when the pandemic hit. I couldn't do stand-up, and I couldn't, like, with stand-up, I come up with material is a little different. Like, I have to go on stage, get some feedback, you know, like, it's kind of a back and forth. But when that's shut down, I was like, man, I want to keep writing. So I just put on some instrumental beats and just kind of, like, really fell in love with that aspect. So when you ask which one do you want it to pop off first, or how do I balance it, it's kind of hard. I try to look at how other people do it, like Childish Gambino. He does the stand-up, then he'll also do an album, then he'll also do acting. So I've seen it done, so it's doable. You know what I mean? I mean, there's not a lot of people that do it. Well, I mean, how do you feel about it? Do you feel like you could differentiate artists?
Well, because I mean, some people that know me, I do music too as well.
Yeah.
So there's a difference. I don't do comedy. Like my life's a joke, but that's. But comedy and music are completely different in the sense that, like you said, comedy you have to work out material and almost produce material in front of people.
Yeah.
Rather than music, you can be in a show, you can be by yourself, and then, you know, when you do an hour for comedy, you've already done it so many times.
Perfected it, yeah.
And then you record it. Rather than music, you've practiced it by yourself so many times, but when you record it, it's almost like, all right, this is the first time people are going to hear it.
Which is scary with music. It's like, what if you're listening to your own music for so long and you think this is great, and you put it out and people don't feel it? Like, that's a risk. Versus with comedy, you feel it right away in that second.
Yeah.
When I'm on stage and I have an idea for a joke and I try and then it works, you feel it. Oh, I'm onto something right then and there. Versus with music, it could go months. Honestly, it could even go, like, there's music that I heard now that was made 10 years ago that I just now fell in love with. Like, sometimes with music, it could age well. Sometimes music doesn't age well. Like, it's, I don't know if that...
Comedy's the same thing too, though, right? Because comedy,
similar,
some comedy doesn't age.
Yeah.
And you can't take it as so much of like someone like a Richard Pryor or
George Carlin.
Lenny Bruce, any of these older ones,
Yeah.
they would have adapted. Like, if they were born in this time, they would have adapted. Funny's funny, like, regardless. People just have it.
Yeah.
But at that time, some of those things, even though they're so iconic, they may not age well.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Like, Eddie Murphy talks about now how he doesn't, he's like almost ashamed.
Yeah, because he had a lot of...
But it's so funny.
At the time. Because context is everything.
Yeah.
Context with jokes is everything. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, at that time, during that era, during what people assumed was funny, it was funny at the time. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I would have sworn there was still some type of, like, outcry at the time when Eddie Murphy was coming up. There was people that would protest him outside of his shows. Even even we see it with music too. Like Eminem used to get protested back in the day
Yeah.
too. So there was still a little bit of a, hey, that's not cool. But the context overall in the mainstream media was, it's fine. You know what I mean? Versus now, it's different time. Like certain jokes that were amazing back then wouldn't fly nowadays. You know what I mean?
True.
Yeah.
So it's just the context of the time. I don't think they had ill intent either. Like I don't think Eddie Murphy at the time was on stage trying to like spew hate speech. You know what I mean? He was
Right.
just saying what's funny and it's working. Like you're on stage, you're saying something and you're just trying to make the people laugh. You know what I mean? So the people. That's why I hate when they try to cancel Kevin Hart at the like for a tweet he did 10 years ago. At that time, he thought it was funny. I don't agree with it's not cool looking at it now, but at the time. It was like no, you know what I mean, more normal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
It's and it's
hard.
also like when is an apology enough? Like
Yeah.
how do you kind of say like, okay, can we possibly move on? It's gonna
Yeah.
affect certain people. Like comedy that was recorded decades ago.
Yeah.
Like you can't like at the time you've made a whole career success off of it. You
Yeah.
can't really say like
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry for
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah.
you legitimately made something. off of
It's
that.
almost like you gotta not let cancel culture obviously for certain things, like
Yeah.
if it's like beyond like sexual abuse, whatever, something that's actually physically
Yeah.
happening in the
Like
comedy
illegal,
world, okay,
yeah.
yeah, for sure, that needs to be stopped. But I feel like there needs to you're trying to draw a barrier between cancel culture and like your jokes and stuff
Yeah.
like that. You're like, I know this is on the fine line, but like
It's hard, and like some comedians want to push the envelope. Some want to take risks. So it's like hard.
Yeah.
That's what keeps comedy going. Like people taking that risk to try a joke that might be a little hard to listen to. But you know what I mean? Like you got to take risks. So I think then for me is the intention. What's this comedian's intentions? I feel like you could like when I was doing a show in Aurora. I won't name the place. But there was like a comedian who went on stage and like it didn't seem like he was cracking jokes. It seemed like he had an agenda. It seemed like the things he was saying
Just got broken up with.
yeah, like it
The
was,
bitch in the crowd, right?
yeah, it was
like-
very personal.
yeah, it was super. So it's like sometimes, and then like I went afterwards, like, yo, like, was that like, what's going on? Like, I had a question because I found that what you said uncomfortable as a person of minority. He was saying some somewhat racist things. I just was like, oh, this dude is just racist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's not what he was saying was not funny. Like, he was saying some racist joke, man. It was like I don't even want to say it because I don't even.
I think it's also
You
too
know?
is like with race, especially with comedy too as well. Some things like Richard Pryor was known for always making like a white dialect in his voice and certain
Yeah.
things, but it was humorous rather than obliterating a whole race.
And
that's
they
like
bring
that.
it back to themselves, where it's
Yeah.
like they'll make fun of something, but I'm gonna make fun of myself in like the
that
same
situation.
situation
Yeah.
or some
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
way. You know what I mean?
It's the thing too as well is how do you with music and maybe even with comedy too as well, because I feel like right now comedy especially across the board there's had some droughts, but comedy has always been this thing that it's like it kind of unite sounds too cliche,
Yeah.
but like music goes through like all these little waves, like
Yeah.
waves and shit, but comedy was always that thing that kind of like brings people
together and stuff.
it's just
Yeah.
like, all right, just leave the shit at the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we'll just watch this and that's it.
And it's always been. I agree with you. I feel like it's very uniting because the thing is it's live. It's happening at the moment, and it's like you're kind of bringing people from depending on what type of comedian you are. Like for a person like Kevin Hart, for instance, his fan base is so diverse. Like you go to a Kevin Hart show, you'll see like people from all over the world there, and it's like we're all laughing at this one thing, and it's like there's no better feeling than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just laughing, having a good time. So you could do the same thing with music and certain concerts too. You know what I mean? It's just stand up, you can't take it out that room. Like you could watch Netflix at your crib and you could laugh with your family, but it's so much different when you're
there.
When you're there, there's
You
you
feel like this good uncomfortable, like
Yeah.
you're kind of like, oh, is this good? And, like, and then it's also this thing of
Yeah.
like when you see people around you, even strangers.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the things why I like movie theaters, because you're going to enjoy something with complete strangers.
Very true.
And it's like this intimacy of like, you see a jump scare in a horror movie and you get it all together.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
comedy, it's the same thing as like, when I walked in, this person, I would have never thought we were going to see the same show, maybe outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now we're in the same room
You're
and
all-
they're laughing just as hard
Yup.
as me, or this person's not. So obviously there's certain
Disconnect.
certain
Yeah.
ways of, like a punchline for you.
Yeah.
A punchline may be received completely different
Yeah.
in different audiences.
Of course, you can't. But I've learned you can't control that. Like I know certain comedians like, oh my god, the room is they're like they catch a vibe where they're like, oh, I'm gonna adjust my whole set and make it for this specific room. And I do that to a certain degree, but I kind of just stick to what I think is funny. They like it, they like it. If not, who cares? You know, I'm not like, oh, this is an all-white crowd, I'm going to pull out my white jokes. No, I'm going to do my set, and I want to be universal as possible anyway. So, I mean, like I said, I try to adapt it a little bit, but most of the time I try to, whatever I feel like is funny, I do that. Because then the people that really do like you for you, they become better fans than people that you're trying to fit in with. I don't know if that, does that make sense? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not, it doesn't seem like you're targeting.
I'm not, I'm just, whatever I feel like is funny. And I don't want to, like, throw my whole set away because I'm assuming, oh, I can't, say this or that. Like, I'm going to say whatever I want to say. And if I find it funny, cool. If they don't like it, hey, get them.
Now, what, time frame wise, they always say, like, do you have like a solid 10, a solid 15? What do you say you have right now?
Honestly, right now I could say, like, if you put me somewhere, I could do 15, 20, and it's like I'm proud of it, I'm confident with it. Once it gets to the 30 to 45 minute mark, then it's like crowd work, depending on how that goes. And then it becomes a little shaky, only because I just started. It's gonna take me maybe another year or two to perfect that, get to that 30 mark. At least for me, I know certain comedians will, I'll have 45. But how much of that 45
is fluff?
Fire,
it's like extra shit.
You know what I mean? So
how long have you been doing it for? Like, when was your initial
my first time
open mic?
I think it was so I did like one open mic. I want to say 3 years ago. Like just me and my boy Yazid. I don't know if you guys met Yazid before, but we went to this open mic at the Comedy Shrine. We did 1 or 2 times. Then we stepped back, and then I started college, and I bumped into Yazid again. And I was like, yo, if you see any open mics, let's do it. So he goes, actually, in 2 days from now, there's like a UIC competition for like last comic standing. And at that time, I've only been on stage twice. And we compete. I end up winning it. And then the winner opens up for Jabuki Youngwhite, who was like at the time, Trevor Noah correspondent. And so when that happened, I was like, oh my God, I'm onto something. Let me start really perfecting it. You know what I mean? And then a few months into that, I met the other guys in my comedy group called Terminal 5. And we just threw our first show in August, where it was like, we rented out a theater. It was like maybe 120 tickets at a time. And none of us were experienced. We're all 6 months into the game type stuff. And we sold it out. And we're like, oh shit, we're on to something. Let's do another show in like 3 months. We did another show in like October. Sold it out in less than 24 hours. It was like back. So we were like, oh, let's just do 2 shows in one night. So we ended up doing that. And then January, right before the pandemic happened, we had done 200 seats. And we were like, building momentum, and then the pandemic happened.
Just like everything.
So, so before January, like, so I don't know how long it's been. I'm trying to add up the math. If I started, I want to say, like, I'm going to give an exact date of when I started. Probably the April 2019 or somewhere around there.
At 3 o'clock, fine. You got the exact time.
Like because I was looking at when we posted our like first show. Like,
was it a matter of someone just like, yo, you're funny, like you should, like what happened? So
I've always wanted to do it, like since I was like a sophomore in high school. I've always loved stand-up comedy. Like that's just like that's all I watch, that's all I enjoy, and I always, like I was like the class clown in high school, like in the yearbook when you open it, was like, oh, that's you. Like I've always enjoyed funny stuff. My whole family's hilarious. Like if you come into my household, it's non-stop jokes. Like my aunt's like mimicking people. She's storytelling. My mom is like hilarious. My grandpa is like, everyone's just funny. I'm not even the funniest one in my house. Like I feel like they're all so much funnier than me. My uncle would troll you for a whole hour and you wouldn't even notice, but we're all laughing at you. Like it's just like they're just funny people. But it wasn't until that UIC competition where I'm like, oh my God, like I could probably do this. You know what I mean? Like I won. Like, oh whoa, you know what I mean? Like there's something here, and that's all I feel like I needed was just that confident push, because I didn't see any Arab comedians. You know what I mean? I've never seen, like, it wasn't until last year when I saw Rami Youssef live and he did his HBO special in Chicago, and I was like, oh my God, like this is an Arab doing it at this level. Like it's like you see it. Like I was saying earlier, like, oh, this is doable. And that's kind of, because it seemed like a far-fetched dream. Like, I don't know, when you do DJing, like, you started really young, so it's different. But it's like, it seems so far away at first, and then you're like, it's almost scary. But then once you see other people doing it, it's like, and then people kind of support you and push you, and it's just now about putting in the time and work, you know what I mean?
And you also do, like, now it is an identity.
Yeah, I guess,
Because there's not like a point of like, oh, I'm just doing this like for fun.
No,
Now it's become, people are going to friends. They're going to associate with you like, no, he's trying to, right now he's trying to do comedy, but
Yeah.
you've ultimately you've like, succeeded at least like
I
doing
mean-
your own shows and stuff.
I mean, now like we're at Laugh Factory, Zany. Like this Saturday, they booked me for a show in Indiana. Like now they're paying, and like I have to really meet the expectation to a certain degree. So it's like it's getting to that level where I gotta keep getting better and keep up. Where it's not like, oh, I just kind of do it. No, like when I bomb, like it looks bad on everyone now. You know what I mean? Like if someone's paying you to be funny and they're giving you money for it and you bomb, like dude, they might not pay you. I don't know. Like you don't want. So before it was like, oh, I'm just going to open mic. If I bomb, who cares? But like now when I do bomb and there's other comedians, now I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna think I'm trash. It's like it's just so many layers. You know what I mean to it. So I try to be as sharp as I can, and you know, with comedy, even with music, it's the same thing where it's like you gotta always be, you know, like your pen game gotta be ready. You're practicing all the time. You know, it's not like when the pandemic happened, we didn't go on stage for those I don't know how many months. Like when I went that first day back, like it felt like starting over. It felt like when you stop hitting the gym, now you gotta start with the small dumbbell. Like it's the same thing. So. So yeah, I mean, I don't know sorry if I went on a tangent.
No. I wanted to ask, what is, you said Terminal 5?
Yeah.
What is that?
So when we first started doing comedy, so Yazid is like one of my best friends since high school, and he's one of the funniest people I know. Like he does videos, he's really hilarious. So when we did that competition, he also started doing stand-up more too, and I was hosting a show at Kazu DuPage, and one of my friends, his name is Rami Abu Shab, not Rami Youssef, he also had just started doing stand-up at the time. And I was telling him I want to throw a show over the summer. At the time, I had like 3 minutes of material. You know what I mean? Like, it was so early on. But I'm like, I just want to throw a show this summer. And he's like, I actually really want to throw a show this summer too. And he had like a name for the comedy group. He's like, I always wanted to start a comedy group called Terminal 5, which is, you know, the O'Hare Airport. Terminal 5 is the international a section of the airport. So he's like, imagine getting everybody from all over the world, and we throw a comedy show. And then like the people in the audience are also diverse and all over. So that was kind of the name behind it, and we just said let's do it in August, and we just started practicing. It was 2019. We just started getting our material ready, and it's me, Rami, Yazid, and then Rami brought his friend Momo, Yazid brought our other friend Adil, and it's just 5 of us. Each person's from a different part of the world. We got like India in the house, Pakistan. I'm from Iraq. Yazid and Rami are from Palestine. We want to keep growing it. I know it's Terminal 5. But it doesn't mean it's limited to 5 people. Like the last show, we had Dario and we had TJ. So it's like we just want to bring that diversity aspect to the stand-up scene, especially in Chicago. Because, I mean, now you're seeing it more, but at the time, it's like all I was seeing was white comics. You know what I mean? Like, and there's nothing wrong with it, but so we wanted to bring something different and kind of bring people together. So yeah, that's.
We had Dario on the podcast.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago too. This whole year in general has stunned a lot of, especially, I hear about that a lot. I want to get kind of 2 things going right now. Is when did you meet Dario?
Yeah.
But then also, how is the year? Well, let's just go with that. Let's just how did you meet Dario?
So Dario, you used to. I mean, now he does it every now and then. Hosts a show at my buddy's. It was a restaurant in the city. It's like a restaurant bar, and then in the back they have like a comedy show. So he also used to do an open mic there. So when me and Rami and everyone was getting ready to do our big show in August, we had to prepare. So we went to different open mics, as many as we can. So one of them was my buddies. We met Dario, and I remember the first day we met him, we all were outside getting like a burrito or something, and we stayed up till like 3 a.m. just talking about comedy, getting to know each other. Like, how did you start, Dario? How did you, we were just going back and forth. I was like, dude, I love this guy. Like, he has such a big heart. And so we kind of kept going there, and we're like, so when we finished the show in August, we're like, yo, the next show we have, the next big show, we need Dario to be in it. Like, I don't know what, either he does a set, he headlines, hosts, something, just because he's such a great comedian, such a great friend, everything. So that's how I met him. It was around the same time I met Sab. Sab was doing you were DJing at my buddy's for one of the showcases. Yeah. And same thing, I was like, he had his equipment, and he was like, I wanted to do videography, and I was like, oh, I just started doing videography. Like, we just were like, we hit it off, and so yeah, that's kind of, so it's been what, 2 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was right. That's when I started comedy, so it's been 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to do something with Dario pretty soon, and obviously, like I said, I want to get you on it too as well. So it just helps, just because the web that we're creating with the people that we've met.
Yep.
It just helps to just incorporate
big time
everybody involved in it too. I wanted to ask, this past year, I know there's always the conversation with how if people have already been successful and they go into this year, they kind of have financially the ability to kind of lay back, or they have the ability to kind of like take some time off. Like maybe they've been on the road, especially with comedians. They've been on the road for so many years, decades. Like it's like I can kind of take this time off. For you, just starting, can you at least touch on like as even if it's deep, like how it messed up your mental health, because like it's a whole year of like you just sold out shows, your own shows, and now it just tanks, and there's nothing you can do. It's not like a personal thing that happened to you. It's kind of happening all around the world, and how you really couldn't move forward.
So when it first hit, I was just devastated. You know, like everyone else, like I was just like, man, like I was so used to being, because I was either working, in school, and doing comedy. So it was like, I was barely ever home. Like, my mom was saying, like, when the pandemic happened, like, this was the first time she'd seen me, like, in a consistently, like, days and, every other day. I used to barely be home. So when it all hit, I was like, it was hard for me to adjust. I'm a very, like, I love people. I love being out and about. Like, I always love connecting with people. So when I'm just stuck in my room now, it really was hard for me to adjust to that. So it was a lot of FaceTime going on. I would just FaceTime my friends. And it killed my creativity. I had a writer's block at first, so like I couldn't, people think, oh, you have all this time now you could come up with the hour special or whatever, but not for me. For me it's like I get most of my material from being out and about, from having a conversation with one of my friends. I'm like, oh my God, this is a funny idea, let me write it down. So when it's just me in my room and it's just four walls, that's not a good place for creativity. So that's where music kind of came in, because like it helped me get out of my writer's block. And it was just like, okay, I could at least write to a beat. There's something going on other than just the quietness of your room, Yeah. So that's what the most thing that helped me, that was the most therapeutic for me during that whole time, was the music and just being really sucked into that. And then now that everything's opened up, it's kind of hard to try to balance the two. Like right now, my main thing the next few months that I'm trying to figure out is just balancing everything up again. Like balancing my work life, my friend life, my family, like balancing all that. And I just, graduated recently. So it's like trying to balance putting in enough time for music, putting in enough time for comedy, putting enough time. Like, that's what I'm struggling with the most right now, just because everything opened back up. So it's like, I feel like once I tap into that a little bit more, I could, prosper, I guess, a little bit better, if that makes sense.
How is that's another thing you were saying, you just graduated. How did your family feel about you doing comedy?
Yeah. So when I first started, I really didn't tell no one. I was just doing it. Even when my family, I don't think that I would keep up with it as much as I did. Because like when I won that UIC competition at the time, I like went home and I told them. They're like, oh, everyone else must have sucked then. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like their
so
mentality.
Yeah,
like that's my family. So it wasn't until like my mom started noticing I'm putting in a lot of work and I'm still getting the degree and I'm still working on the side, because I'm not fucking sitting on $1 million where I could afford to just sit at home and only do comedy, because we all gotta work too.
Yeah.
So my mom noticed that I'm putting in the work, and that was all she wanted. She just didn't want me to be sitting at home, even or like being nothing. Like it doesn't matter if it's stand up, if it's being a teacher, whatever it is, as long as you're working towards it and you're growing as a person. That's all my mom cared about.
Yeah.
So she was like, look, I see you doing the comedy, but I also see you still getting the degree. So she supported it fully. And, my grandparents, you can't explain stand-up to them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they don't even understand my degree. Like, I got a communications degree, and my grandma asked me every other day, what is that? Like, what do you do? Like, they're not going to get it.
It's just not, yeah.
So I just go, I'm working with computers. That's literally what I tell my grandma. I'm working with computers. Like, oh, that's good. Like they don't, they don't know. Like, so as long as my mom is happy and I probably, and I could get to a place where I could fully support her from comedy, that would be cool. But right now, I'm still working and seeing, whichever hits first,
Yeah. Well, you notice that a lot too, coming from like an immigrant family and from immigrant families in general. Like they have this mentality where it's like, that's like anytime, even if I tell my parents about a podcast or anything like that, my mom's a little different. My mom, just anything I do, she's like, as long as you're happy, she's like, no matter what.
That's dope.
She's listened to some of my stuff and it's like vulgar and she's like, well, as long as it, whatever. Yeah. My dad is the type where he's like, what is this?
They want to see proof. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They don't understand that stuff. Even if we started our own business, let's say you want to sell tires.
Like happiness.
Yeah.
What are you doing? But it's true, because even with comedy, you see, I hear like a lot of comedians too, where you can still be super successful.
Yeah.
And they don't really like until the day
Understand.
where somebody randomly is coming up to you that they may know
Yeah.
and they acknowledge you. Then they're like,
double down.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. But if it's just like, well, what do you do?
Yeah.
You know, like what are you still doing?
They don't understand these things take time, and the other thing is they don't get that like whatever we're gonna pick, it's gonna be just as challenging. Like if I wanted to become a teacher today, or if I wanted, whatever we're gonna do is gonna require a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's gonna take time to really see the progress. But I feel like all we can do is just keep our head down,
Yeah.
work towards it, and then with time they will understand. You know, some things like luckily for us, you know, our moms support us, but for the people that don't, sometimes you just gotta work twice as hard. You know what I mean? Like I wish I had generational wealth. You know, like because I'm an immigrant. You said you're an immigrant too.
Well, my dad, yeah.
Your dad's immigrant. Like still second generation. Is that what they call it when you're second?
Is it first?
Is it first?
It's
I
so
never
bad.
understand
Sam,
those.
scoot over a little bit
Sam,
more.
you're
That's
far
all
away,
right.
man.
I know. I just see him going as me and you are getting closer, and he's just like
Going farther and farther.
he's in the kitchen getting a bowl of cereal.
Well-
But is it first? Because my dad came over here.
He was so he's an immigrant. You're first generation.
I'm first generation.
Okay, so even first generation, like we don't have the luxury of like having generational wealth and being able to just like have our parents pay for college and all that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, we just have to work twice as hard and it's fine. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
just the cards we're dealt. We can't sit back and be like, oh, like man, I don't have any money. I can't chase my dream. Because I hear that a lot. Like my uncle would say that. I'm an immigrant. My uncle's an immigrant, but like he would be like, I wanted to do music, but you know I came here and I had to
Yeah,
work.
yeah, yeah.
It's like I'm doing it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you could still. So it shouldn't be an excuse. I say that to say it shouldn't be an excuse. We just have to work twice, 3 times as hard.
You also gotta like block that stuff out too. When
Facts.
it's like coming, it's like I'm not even listening. I'm
Yeah.
turning it off right
All the
now because
way.
I don't need this to like invade my vision of what
Yes,
I got
sir.
for myself. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's good. It's good that it's a humbling thing too as well.
Yeah.
Like you have to realize that like these people care about you enough that they're just like, I don't want to see you 50, 60 years old
Yeah.
and you're still hurting.
Yeah.
Like my parents just don't want to see
You
their
struggle.
kids
Yeah.
hurt. They don't want to see you struggle.
Yeah.
They, like especially somebody that came, like my dad coming over here, he's like, he didn't know no English. So he's like, you got to go live this dream that you want to. And if that's the dream, the comedy thing too as well is like, you can go to a comedy school,
Yeah, but that doesn't help. Yeah.
but they're not gonna be able to tell you how to
Yeah.
make jokes.
Yeah.
They're not gonna tell you how to make premises or anything like that. There's no avenue to it as like a teaching where
There's no
you-
set course. You go.
there's no
here,
set
go
course.
Here, now you make it. Yeah.
and even with teaching too, you can get a degree in it, but you could just be a dog shit teacher.
Yeah.
Like you just know how to do it. But with comedy, like you will get told and humbled really quick.
Oh yeah.
They-
Even the people that are like on Jerry Seinfeld level or Kevin Hart level or any even those, they get like maybe a 10-minute like when they first start the first 10 minutes they'll give them like a pass, but after that 10 minutes like you better be funny. Like even them, like even though they've made it, they still have to continue being like on their shit too. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't know if my bad if I didn't make any sense on that.
No.
But-
100%.
I want to ask too is it's the most obvious question, but considering we mentioned some names, what is some inspirations as far as to you too as well?
So like some of my favorite comedians, Richard, we talked about Richard Pryor, George Carlin. I love Rami Youssef. I talked about it earlier just because he's killing the game. I think he's top 5 for me all time. I really love Kevin Hart. I really love Sarah Silverman too. I don't know. Do you guys like Sarah Silverman? A little bit.
I was a fan of her. She
Yeah.
had a show, right? That was
Yeah.
pretty funny. I watched.
She was dope. She's
Yeah.
a dope comedian. I love any of those people can inspire me just watching either an interview of them, watching their stand up. With music, I love J. Cole, I love Kendrick, I love honestly like there's some, but so those people that I just named, just seeing anything they do from an interview to music to whatever, if they're doing a show, like that stuff inspires me. And then I would say my friends like SSAB, Dario, Lou. Now you inspire me too. Like
Thanks,
my
bro.
people that are next to me, because they're also chasing their dream. Those people inspire me too. Because like when I'm lacking, maybe Sab can give me one phone call and that will fuel me for the next 2-3 weeks. You know what I mean? Just from that one, I'm hyped now. You know what I mean? So those things inspire me. And I think that's a very big thing when you're chasing your dream is having like a solid group around you, like a solid circle. It makes a big difference. Like having Terminal 5 when we go rehearse and when we go to these shows or whatever, it makes a bigger difference than if I was doing it one alone, or if I was doing it with people that weren't looking out for what's good for me or aren't necessarily supporting me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so do you agree? Do you feel like your friend group make a big?
100%, bro. Friend group, work group, like people that you spend the most time with on a daily basis, like all that goes into play of like your overall inspiration level, and like obviously you got to find it within yourself and have your own motivation, but it does add to the
more
fire.
Fuel.
Yeah.
More fuel to the fire. I
You know
agree.
what I mean? So-
How do you have you met sometimes where you're like out and somebody's doing a set and you're like, damn, they're really good.
Yeah, but that inspires me too. Like, there's like a handful of those in the Chicago scene. Like, there's Calvin Evans, who's from Chicago, and he's killing the scene. But like seeing him go on stage and just kill it makes me want to go home and like get better. You know what I mean? And it also shows that like he just did a Conan O'Brien. He just did like a set on Conan, and it's like, oh my God, he's from Chicago. I literally been watching him. Like he came to my community college 5 years ago and did a set.
Yeah.
And then now 5 years later he's on Conan. Like you see it. Like when you start seeing those things, like it fuels you too. Because again, it seems possible now. It doesn't seem like some fairy tale. No, it's like, yo, you work hard, you become great, you could get there. You know what I mean? And that was that was the only thing that used to stop me back in the day. Was just it didn't seem real.
What do you with music wise? There's always like that. Well, who do you want to work with? You know, like, oh, you want to have a feature. But if we're talking, well, obviously, go for music. Who do you want to work with? But for comedy, what is that kind of similar?
Kevin Hart, man, that's my favorite. Kevin Hart. If I could do anything, if I'm just in a cameo and he's in I'm just in the background, I could see him. Like Kevin Hart's up there. I would love to collaborate with.
Real quick, what's your favorite Kevin Hart moment from a movie or stand-up?
Well, I would say just like one of his first stand-up specials, like the "She Ain't Got No Nipple." Or like, like that's a classic. Like I don't know, there's so many. I don't know. I know nowadays people like hate on him. I love him. I feel like that happens a lot to greats. Like when they reach a certain level of success, and all of a sudden people go like, "Man, F that guy." Like, but on the whole way there, you guys were supporting him, but not, you know. So I will always support Kevin Hart. I don't think. That man is super inspiring. I don't know. Like, to see what he's done, to sell out an arena multiple times, to go on a world tour on his, like, dude, that's
done like 5 movies with The Rock.
The Rock, multiple specials, you know what I mean? Like, he works
if
hard.
you're friends with The Rock, like, that's an accomplishment right there. That's a trophy.
Yeah, no, he's dope. So I would love to work with Kevin Hart. One day, hopefully.
Yeah.
You know?
Music-wise, what do you tailor your sound? I mean, obviously, everyone has their own sound, but you mentioned things like people like J. Cole and Kendrick, like, who are some maybe even producers? Because you don't produce, right?
No.
Who are some producers that you would be like, I want to get a beat off of them?
I really love. I know some people don't like Russ. I really like Russ. I think his production is dope. I think his sound is dope. So that's a person like. If I get a Russ produced beat or I get a Russ feature, that'd be super cool.
Yeah.
I think he influences my sound a lot. I would say just because I really like the style that he's in and like the way he could switch up from like a hype song to like a love song to like, you know. So I like the versatility. Of course, Drake. Anything that has to do with Drake, that would be dope. Production wise, Timbaland beat, that would be cool. Just I gotta, you know what I mean? Like, but
Beat off Timbo.
yeah, like a big Tim. Yeah.
Did you listen to J. Cole's new stuff?
I haven't really heard the whole thing front to back yet, but I heard the hits. You know, Pride is the Devil, that was dope. Amari was really good off that album. But I gotta really listen to it a few more times.
It's like a sit with album. You gotta sit with
Forest
it.
Hills Drive is my favorite all time.
Yeah.
It's tough. Well, it's the same thing with comedy too, I guess. They're so similar, but so different. But like with music too, like he's made good albums, but when he made Forest, it was kind of like he was just there, like that moment, that time where you see the dude. Remember that they had the meme where the kid went to school and he had the whole his whole tracksuit was him on there.
Yeah.
So it was they reached that point where it's collectively like all the things that they learn, production and all that kind of stuff. And then I think about that with comedy too. Is like, you know, they say like the sophomore albums for rappers and stuff. Like if that's a big indication if they flop. For comedians, it's an hour. It's always the hour. Also too is like, do you notice it's like especially on Netflix and stuff, like they're slimming down to like 30 minutes and 20 minutes, like,
Yeah.
because they're the algorithm saying that they're not.
The thing is, people's attention span is not like it used to be. Like nowadays, like back in the day, you could sit down for an hour, but now, like even me, like I'll be on YouTube and I'll watch like a 7 minute. I'll be 7 minutes into like some stand up, then I'll switch to this, like, because it's just our attention span is less nowadays. I could see it being the new, because even music is kind of cut down now too. Like it used to be like 18 tracks on the album, whatever. Now
Yeah.
it's like Kanye did what 3 songs, and like one of his last EPs, he did like a
Yeah, they're all seven track songs
tracks.
that he did for Pusha and
so
Kid
it's just
Cudi.
attention span, people's attention span. So I like the way Andrew Schulz did it, where he released like let's say his hour, but he also divided it into mini clips. Like so, like this 7 part of that, like if his hour is however long it is, each set he just cut it into mini clips. So like you could still watch the whole thing, but you could also watch just 5 minutes here, 4 minutes there,
Yeah.
whatever his bits are. He just uploaded them separately, and that worked really well for him. So it's just
He's done like it really well.
yeah.
He's done it really well
Yeah.
because his videos on Instagram
Yep.
were like turn your phone. Like it was a thing. Like I would remember seeing people post about it, and then I started going to his page and watching it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like a huge fan of his comedy.
Yeah.
And also like even if you were a fan or weren't a fan of your comedy, you
Can't deny.
found him
Yeah.
from a different. Like you didn't have to go see like comedies back then or comedians back then. You had to go to a show,
Yeah.
and you stumble across, or you may see them on Johnny Carson. You may
Yeah.
see them on a Jay Leno or Conan, whoever. But now it's you pop somebody off on a skit on a Instagram reel or TikTok or Vine at the time,
It's
whatever.
easier to pop off nowadays. Like I know back in the day, it used to be like 20 years to get in the game, but
Yeah.
now you can slim it down. It could be. I could see happening in 5 years. Like certain like great comedians that if they do it well and they use social media for their advantage, it's still doable.
Yeah.
For me, my main goal right now is just to have a solid hour. I don't care what happens in the meantime. If like I just really want to have an hour that I'm proud of, like that I'm like
Mhm.
this is my special and I love it. And then however they want to distribute it and cut it up, it doesn't matter. I just want to be able to go on stage for an hour and like slaughter, like undeniably funny. That's the main goal. Like it's cool to be 10 minutes of undeniably funny and then all right guys, that's my time and you walk off. But like the hour is the goal. You know what I mean? For
Yeah.
me at least. When it comes time to release it or whatever, that's cool. But that's my main.
Because then you have to sit with that hour for a while.
But honestly, the
Not
way-
too long,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
mean you want to perfect
Yeah,
it.
you want to have a solid hour. I think the way things are now for comedians, like I think it's got to be like an hour every 2-3 years to really stay hot. Like Kevin Hart did that. Now Nate Bargatze's doing that, where he just filmed his hour, released it. Now he's on tour with new material. Because once your fan base saw that hour, they don't want to
done.
see the same hour again. You
Right.
know, unless you have Jerry Seinfeld type of fan base where they're okay with that. Like
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld did the same hour multiple times, and sometimes people like because they're just classic bits, and
Yeah.
it's fine. But I think the majority of new audiences that you're building or new fans that you're having, they want to see new stuff. They don't want to see the same, even the same 20, 30 minutes. It's like, dude, we already saw that. Because comedy, most of the things that are dope and funny is that surprise aspect. Like, that's
Yeah.
the number one, like that misdirection. It's like, or are you saying that, like, new joke? It's like a new joke. Once they hear that surprise, it's not as funny. But they already see it coming from a mile away.
Unless it becomes like a
A classic bit. or
like
whatever.
Andrew Dice Clay with the nursery rhymes and stuff, or like Bert
Yeah.
Kreischer with the machine
There
and
is,
stuff.
there's
There's certain
classics. Yeah, there's a
certain
niche.
ones.
Yeah.
But versus music, the music you could play this. You know, there's rock stars who are still touring on a song that was a hit in the 70s. Or
Yeah.
whatever.
Or
music,
album. That's their
yeah.
hour.
And so that's what's beautiful about music. I feel like some songs are timeless. Certain songs, like I don't think I'll never get old. I'll never get tired of "Love Yours" by J. Cole. Like I love that song. It came out 2014. I was just playing it like 2 days ago. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I'm not playing the same Kevin Hart joke that I, like every day.
Right.
Like even though I love Kevin Hart, I'm the big fan. But jokes is different. It ages different. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because his thing too was he did movies
Yeah.
for his stand up,
Yeah.
and that was a thing. Like everyone, you wouldn't
Went
go
to the theater to
You
watch
would go
it.
to a theater and
Yeah.
watch it, and he wasn't even in front of you, and he was making millions.
Oh yeah.
Off
And
of
he
his
owned
movie.
it. He owned like that's another thing people sleep on. Like he's a great businessman too. Like
Yeah.
he owns that hour fully. Sometimes you sell that, like certain comedians will sell that hour to Comedy Central. That's it. They're not. They might get royalties depending on the deal, but they could keep milking that special. Comedy Central, however they like. They could sell it. They could do whatever. versus Kevin Hart. I think The Laugh of My Pain, like he owns that. When he went to theaters, he was pocketing like 80-90% of which is super inspiring too.
Well, even someone like a Dave Chappelle who now owns his comedy sketch show, which is huge. It's on Netflix, and like he made a big, I wouldn't even say commotion because it's rightful.
He owns it.
Yeah, it's his rightful thing to say that, but he made a big thing where he's like, "Don't watch this. Like they're not giving me money," and now they gave him the rights, the royalties to it. Yeah. So now he owns.
That's dope to see. That's dope to see him win against like the system. I think.
Yeah.
You know? Because especially like I think as artists we always get the worst end of the stick sometimes because they feel like just because you're an artist you shouldn't be making a lot of money. Like I know there's like some type of like stigma around like being like artsy and like not wanting to make money. I feel like I hate getting finessed. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, I'm a human. I don't want to get finessed. And I think they try to finesse Dave back in the day, and because he didn't have as much of a powerful fan base as he has now, they got away with it, and they were milking him for over $50 million. Like that's a lot of money. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm happy to see the tables turn. I'm happy to see he got his rights back. Like as a person just outside of comedy and as a comedian to see like, oh my God, they're giving some power back to the people, you know?
Because he made more than that. The $50 million he walked away from, well, I guess it's $50 million. He walked away from, he made that back, which was a huge thing. Like, that's another thing, like we talk about the family members. Yeah. My parents would have been like, well, you did what? Like, you $50 million. But he knew he was going to lose control of it.
Yeah.
And with you too is like comedy, like when it is a sense where it's like right now it's all fun and games, but when you record that special, if people start having their hands on it and saying, we can't say, you don't want to say that joke, you're going to be like, no, I don't want this. Like, I'm going to do it some other way because I don't want to hinder the audience from actually seeing what I wanted them to see.
Yeah. Or yourself, or just like, this isn't even me up here.
Independence is key within your art. I feel like I wouldn't, if I'm doing a set and then like Netflix goes, but you can't do this joke, I don't want to deal with it. You know what I mean? Like I feel like we work so hard and we have a vision for something, and for someone to try to nitpick and hey, no cuss words, hey, no this, hey, no that, I'll be like, I'll do it independently. And we have all the access to do stuff independently now, so there's no excuse. You know what I mean? Like if I was to shoot my own special, I think I would pay out of pocket for it and take that risk instead of paying any company to come and then like they pay me a set rate. No, I'd rather own it and do what I want with it after. I think we have the access to, like even with our music, like to make music nowadays, if you buy a laptop, you get a microphone, then you upload it through TuneCore or DistroKid, you own your song. Yeah, and you get 100% of those streams. If it pops off, that's all you. If it doesn't, it's cool, but like I think independence is a very big deal, and you should always strive to keep it as much as you can.
It's becoming more like we were just talking about the mixer. Yeah, it's like that. Back when recording albums, I was just watching like I don't know if it was last night or the night before. Almost Famous. You ever seen the movie Almost Famous? Mm-hmm. It's about a kid that he's an aspiring journalist, but he's like 15, 14 years old. Mm. But he happens to stumble upon the opportunity to get this new upcoming band that he's going to write for Rolling Stone, and they're falling apart. It's all this commotion, whatever like that. But I was watching that, and it made you realize, like, one, at that time, rock stars were rock stars. Like, comedians were, like, if you were at that time, you would be doing crazy stuff in the green room, and nobody knew about it. It was just myths. Like, nobody had phones on you, whatever. Right. But also, all the stuff that they had to do to record, they needed labels to record in studios. Mm-hmm. Rather than now, you can make a makeshift studio for like $500. Rather than then, it was like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
You're paying per hour to use this session.
And you were giving them all your rights and royalties just to be able to create something in a professional settings. Rather than with comedy too as well, it's so, like, you can just get you standing, no mic, in front of random people, and it doesn't really need much.
No, it's very low budget. And, I mean, of course you could invest a lot of money and buy the best camera and whatever, but it's like, you could just get a basic setup and have the stand-up speak for itself, and you get the right editing or whatever. But you're right, it used to be way more expensive and hard to get your hands on these things, but now your MacBook has enough, stuff
Yeah.
to mix. And like I said, me and Kyle Korman, we did that EP. We did it in his crib, and like within 3 days. 3 days, we did 5 songs and released it within like the next 2 weeks later. Like
Yeah.
that's unheard of. To even get it uploaded to the streaming platforms that quickly, 10 years ago is unheard of. 20 years ago. So and I feel like nowadays, like I don't even feel bad if I hear a rapper like 2 weeks ago, some rapper signs a deal and does a 360 deal. Like at this point, if you're getting finessed, I don't feel bad for you because the information is out there. You could have done.
You were
research.
chasing a quick check.
Yeah. So it's
And-
like I don't feel bad.
Yeah. You gotta find ways to, like chants and stuff, like where they bet it on themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever projection afterwards,
Sorry.
whatever projection afterwards they kind of went into,
Yeah.
they still own their stuff. They still have the ability to own their stuff and everything. So, people too, like, do you notice even with the short period of time your comedy has changed?
Yeah.
Not like I got better, but
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned like George Carlin is one of you. If you watch old George
Yeah.
Carlin, clean cut, suit on,
Yeah.
even Richard Pryor, like very like tailored,
Yeah.
and then George Carlin becomes this kind of prolific, very like it's not just one-liners,
Yeah.
it's stories, and
Yeah.
it's political in a sense that it makes you think,
Yeah.
even if you're on the other side. Do you notice that you kind of are finding your
Yeah, I would say with time, of course, that happens. That's if you're gradually like trying to get better. Because I think there's this thing within writing where it's like you have to, like I'm gonna fuck up this metaphor, but like when you built I guess a new sink and you turn on the faucet right away, there's like the dirt comes out of it or something like that. Am I right? Something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not a construction guy, but I know there's something within this. So same with writing and stand up. Like when you first start, you're just getting rid of all these garbage ideas that you have. But then once, like after a while, then you start getting the water. You know what I mean? Then it starts.
Yeah.
But it's just you have to keep at it. You have to keep writing and keep like just getting better just by like watching your set after you get off stage and be like, oh my god, I could add a tag there. I could add another joke there. I know why this joke didn't work now. That require, and I feel like George is a master at that. Like he was a great writer at the end of the day. Like when you look at what he was doing and the wordplay and the rhythm, like it was like it's so many layers combined, and that only happens if you're putting in work. Like that doesn't just happen. Like he didn't just wake up great. That's why you see the first he's wearing a clean cut because you see the growth. You see the like him developing as a human first, and just I'm assuming like he probably had a family. I won't later on, and that adds more deeper layers that like just life. You know what I mean? And you only get that by constantly going. And Carlin has a lot of specials out. Like this man was putting out a special
every year. Every year, like an hour.
Yeah.
Even someone going back to like a Lenny Bruce who was getting locked up for saying certain things.
Yeah.
Richard Pryor and George Carlin probably were coming out that way because at that time it was kind of like a corporate thing. Like there was so much force saying you're not going to get on Johnny Carson if you're very vulgar or like that. And then eventually they started finding their way of it and realizing like, no, this is who I really want to be.
But they're also revolutionaries for that though too.
Huge.
Because if you see who the other comedians that were around at their time, it was just like these bogus like went to the hat store and bought a hat, whatever. I don't know what they're saying. Like it was just corny. Like where's my wife? She's better be like I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was corny, and I think they noticed that. And then like they honestly could have been just as successful going the clean route or whatever. But like I remember, I wonder if it was Richard or George where they were working in like Vegas, and it was like at the time you had to wear the suit and the tie and everything, but they just couldn't do it no more. They couldn't cuss. That was like a thing. You couldn't say any cuss words during your set. And like I think it was Richard at one point. They just had enough. Like he was like, you know what? I'm gonna do my thing. And they fired him at the time. Like you were making so much money doing clean comedy. Why would you go that route? Why would you take that risk? You know what I mean? But they took it because the artist in them wouldn't let them continue.
Yeah.
So like that's revolutionary. Like that's what makes them still talk about till this day, because they took that route and took a risk, because they were risking a lot of money that they could have been making at these clean set. You know what I mean? So it's just, but it pays off. Like now we talk about them today. You know?
Well, that's why revolutionary too is even someone like Eddie Murphy, where the leather suits and all tight and shit.
Yeah.
That was something big too, is because it became a state, like Kevin Hart with the fire, flames.
Yeah,
You know, like that was something where he was like, I just wanted to have that.
Yeah.
Like
Eddie Murphy made it cool. You know what I mean?
He made it really
he made
cool.
It so
He did.
cool. Like you just see him. He's like on a tour bus. He was like fucking Elvis Presley. You know what I mean? Of comedy like at the time. So he made it cool, and again, these things like I think you only get from being yourself. I think Eddie Murphy was just being him, and didn't probably like they probably told him, "What are you doing wearing that red?" I'm pretty sure somebody told him that, and it's just like he probably stuck to it, and he knew something, he felt it. He went with his instinct, like. So that was revolutionary at the time too.
Plus, a lot of the comedians like George Carlin, that they were, when they finally found themselves, it was like in 30s, and 40s, like someone like Rodney Dangerfield being, I mean, he was already lived a career, had a family, and then blew up.
Yeah.
So Eddie Murphy being like, imagine your early 20s, you're on SNL.
He's doing arenas.
And you're doing arenas, like, that was cool. Like, the leather suits and everything, like, that was like, man, the kids were like, this shit's hot.
Yeah.
Adults looking back.
Till this day pay homage in their specials. Like, you'll see them wearing a leather jacket or a leather hat or leather pants or something.
Yeah.
They pay homage to it till this day.
Yep.
That's how revolutionary at the time that was.
Or like a Chris Rock, he had a leather suit too as well. Certain things.
They're paying homage. That's dope.
Martin Lawrence had like a leather, I want to say tank top or something like that. He did like a whole thing in a leather tank top like that.
Tiffany did too. Some leather related.
Yeah.
It's like they're paying homage to that time.
You gonna rock leather your next one?
Maybe a leather bulletproof vest during my special. I like the bulletproof vest, so if I would shoot a special, I would wear it and then maybe get a custom made with some leather. That'd be dope.
Yeah. What is the thing with the bulletproof vest?
So I wear the bulletproof vest. Honestly, okay, so I love 50 Cent. That's another big artist that I really, really love. And
another revolutionary artist too.
Big time.
Just breaking beefs with everyone too. Like, that's an artist you do not want beef with, bro. Like, to this day,
everyone.
To this day, he still will post his beef up and joke on the people he like had it with. Like, that's legendary.
He's such a legend. And so I don't know if you ever saw like Get Rich or Die Trying. He wore the bulletproof vest in the end of the movie where he's like, and I love the scene. His like grandma's like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And he's just like, "I got to." You're like, so like I just thought it'd be so funny to like do that, but in comedy, like yo, you sure you want to wear the vest? Like, so like I go on stage, I'll do some jokes about it up front, but I also just like, it gives me like that like the like a different type of confidence. Like, I have it on, I'm rehearsing. Usually I have the beard a little bit grown more, and I don't know, I also feel like it's an attention grabber. Like the first, like similar to the leather jacket, like the audience, they like it or not, whether I end up being funny or not, they give me that like 10 seconds of like, hold on, wait, let's see what this guy got to say. You know what I mean? And that goes far in a set. Like, because sometimes you get on stage and people are still talking, they're drinking, whatever. It's because I'm still starting out. I'm not like a headlining name or nothing. Yeah. But when I come with the vest on, they're like, wait, what's going on? You know what I mean? And then I make a joke. I just feel like it sets my set in a way where it's just, I'm on top of my shit, and I'm also not hard or like coming up there like, no, I'm very nice, you know what I mean? Like yeah. So like it's just a different so I have the vest on, I look like I'm mean, but I'm also not saying anything that's like hurtful, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just fun to play with.
You gonna take it off in the middle of the set like 50 did, where he took it off and he was
I want to do like in the future. I was just telling this to Rami the other day, is like if I shoot a special, like I would love for 50 Cent to be in it. And like maybe like right after I get off stage, I take it off and he like shoots me. I don't know, like include it.
For real, I want to make a joke about it or some shit.
That'd be so dope, dude. That would be like a dream come true. So and it's fun, dude. I think no one has done it. I've never seen a comedian wear a bulletproof vest on stage. So let's see where I
like it. I think it's. I just I see you wearing it. I was, because I've never seen your sets. He's always telling me.
Yeah.
But when I seen it, I was like, what the hell is this man wearing? At first I thought it was just like a regular vest, and now you're saying a bulletproof vest. Like, that's pretty. It's like a legit bulletproof vest.
It's real. I mean, I take out the plates when I'm on stage. You can put like metal plates.
Because it's so heavy.
It's heavy. So like I wear it. So now people are like, oh, he's not wearing a bulletproof vest, But it's just, I think the aesthetic look of it is dope. Yeah. Maybe if I make more money, I'll buy like a really cool one. Like I saw Stormzy. He's like a rapper in the UK. Banksy made him his own vest.
Ooh.
And he wore it at his home arena. Like he was doing a big show, and like it was like a Banksy customized like bulletproof vest. So artsy, like super dope. I'm like, maybe if I make money, I'll get something like that. Maybe, but for now, this simple bulletproof vest works.
Yeah. Having a vest made by Banksy.
Yep. If you see it, like if you look it up, it's such a dope vest. So
That's wild.
yeah, because rapper's weird. I've seen like was it maybe G Herbo or Little Dirk.
Yes.
Dirk had on the exact one I had on. Like I've seen him wear it at a show recently. Maybe I don't know who did it first. Let's just say
You
this,
inspired him. For
I think I inspired Dirk. You know,
I think he was wearing it for different reasons.
yeah,
so
he wearing it
you
for real. I wasn't wearing it. You know, like no. I think he put it on first maybe, but I saw a picture of him wearing the exact one that I have. So it's like I've seen rappers do it, but I've never seen comedians do it. So it's cool to do.
Yeah. What is as far as for this year? What is your projections?
For just this year, my goal is to finish up this solid 30, like a new 30 that I'm working on. Like right now, remember I told you I have like 15, 20. Like I'll probably use 5 or 10 out of that. But I'm working on this really dope concept. Like it's more structured. It's way more developed. Like new ideas that I threw in. Like I'm taking more risks with my stand-up. So I really want to have that 30 set by the end of the year. Like I want it to be when we do our next Terminal 5 show. I think I want to go in the. We always take turns on who goes in the end. There's no real order.
Yeah.
Like I want to go in the end. I want to have that 25, 30 minute, and I'm really proud of it. So far, it's coming together really well. Still early in developing it, but so finish that 30 is a big goal. Maybe do a Bars, which is my rap. Like maybe do a Bars show. So I'm gonna release a song in 3 weeks. I'm gonna release a new song, and maybe by I want to say October, have like maybe 5 new songs out. So maybe do like a actual rap concert, I guess.
Yeah.
And hopefully COVID is, only reason I'm waiting is just because I don't want to throw a big show and then take risks right now just because of how the pandemic is. But I'm hoping that by then everyone's vaccinated, things are back up to 100% capacity, and that would be a dope thing to do as well.
To have it like a full set.
Yeah.
I was gonna make a joke and be like, well, it's a good thing you made all these announcements, but we're not gonna release this for another year. This be a whole another year before we release this. You got like 3 albums, you're blown up already. We've been holding on to this shit until he blows up.
I don't mind if it's like a month or two, but that dude waited. By the way,
we'll have this. Yeah. It's not hard, especially with the one camera. It's not like it would be like a whole production.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing too as well. We want to do the thing with Dario, and I was like, man, he's surrounding himself with so many like good comedians. As far as like people that are really like I can see that you're really pushing.
Yeah, thank you, man.
So it's inspiring, even if I haven't. I'm gonna make it out. I feel it probably sounds bad because I haven't seen your comedy.
No, it's all good.
I'm not saying you're a good comedian. I'm just saying you're a good person.
Pursuit
of it is inspiring. Because I've listened to the music too. Because even because that's obviously accessible. I have to like legitimately go to you. But even like
I've been saying,
hey.
because I was like,
roll over.
Some of it was
Motorola.
like comedy wise
is
too.
one of my favorite songs though. By the way, that is very hits home.
That was the one that set the tone for the album. So originally I was even planning to do an album. I had that one song written, and that was my first ever song that I wrote, like front to back. It was done, and I go to record it at Kyle's house, and he was like, there was like a little part in there where you could squeeze in another verse, and he was like, yo, can I hop in on this? I was like, of course. I love Kyle Korn's music to begin with. Yeah. So he hopped in on it, and then he sent me it like literally 3 hours. Like I finished the studio session, I went home, then I just get a text from him like he finished the song with his verse on it. And then I was like, dude, this is so fire. It's like I go the next day to his house, and I was like, I have another idea for a song. And I make it, and then he jumps in on that one. And I'm like, dude, we're 2 songs in. Let's do like 2, 3 more. And so we made 1 more that night, then went the next day and did 2 more. And then we're like, oh, we just finished. We have like 5 songs. So we just put it out. So it wasn't even like, we didn't even plan it. Like, it was just, bro, the way it all came together, the way we were both like but Move On was what set the tone. We did Move On, and then I think Motorola came next. And then the song, like, the way it came together was so unheard of, like, to make that many songs and really love it, because, like, I've been, like, nowadays, I went to Kyle's, like, the other day. We couldn't make it. Like, we tried to make a song yesterday. It didn't work. For some reason, at that time, whatever was going on in the air, that album came together.
Because that EP is very personal to you. Obviously, it shows that you're going through a lot of struggle with relationships and stuff. Were you trying to just turn pain into love? You know what I mean? 'Cause it was like, you made something beautiful with it. If you listen to the context and the words of what you're saying, like, man, you're like this, you're pouring your heart out. You know what I mean?
Because at the time, right before the pandemic, I had just broken up with a female that I was with for a minute, like a good minute, and And so that happened. The pandemic happened. Everything shut down. So I feel like I was just sitting on a lot. Subconsciously, I didn't notice. And the songs just helped me. Like, it was so therapeutic, bro. Like, after the album, like, I feel like I've never done, like, therapy. But I feel like if there was therapy, I felt like 6 months worth of therapy and, like, letting out a lot of, like, things. You know what I mean? So that album definitely helped me with that. And there's a lot of truths within that album of, like, what actually happened or how I felt about it, or, you know, like, the order of the song is, like, Move On, then Friend is after that. So it's like, if you hear it, it's like I'm kind of letting go of it. Like, at first I couldn't move on, then now I am, you know what I mean? Like, I tell the reason why it happened. So it was really cool to release that album, I think, and very therapeutic for sure. Because you just started dabbling in music too, like actual production and stuff. Do you feel the same way when you're producing? Or?
Oh, for sure. Like, even when I don't make music for a while, I feel like maybe depressed a little bit or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm missing something. Because it's like when I go to like this morning, I had like 20 minutes to spare, and I'm like trying to get out of bed. I'm trying to work, and I'm like, man, I just need to make something. I made something hot. I'm like, man, I feel so good. You know what I mean?
You feel productive for the day.
Yeah, you feel productive. Like, anything bad could happen, but it's like, man, I could jump back into that beat that I was working on. I feel good about it. You know what I mean? So it's like,
that's how you know you're meant to do this though. That's like when I write a joke, like, let's say today I didn't do nothing, but like if I wrote one new joke idea or like finish another joke, I feel like I'm good for the day. Like inside I feel more complete or something. You know what I mean? I feel that's how you know that's like a thing you should always be doing, whatever the reason behind it is or what you want to go with it. But like for that moment, I feel like that's how you know it's meant for you. You know?
Because music is one of those things where it's like literally nothing is in the space and you just create something in the room out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Even if you're using samples or you're using loops, like I try to see it where it's like the combination of those things were only right for you to make the combo. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a reason behind it all, or like it was just set up in place and you just had to piece it together. You know what I mean? Try not to think about shit too hard. It's like, if that was the first thing you saw and the next thing you saw was this, there's like, just run with it. It was just lined up for you, you know? So
facts. It's interesting. I still can't wait till you start rapping, man. I know you got it in you. Hey, I tried. Remember, I went to your crib. What was it, like a few months ago?
Yeah, it was like 2 months ago.
Get on the mic, man.
No, I want to be behind the rappers for sure.
Okay, literally or not? Okay.
Yeah, for sure. But
no, I know what you mean. It's dope. I think they're both just as necessary. You know.
Yeah.
Would you ever try it though? Would you ever?
Man, I think I would. You know what I mean? If I'll actually,
write for
SSAB. Lou, we've had talks about this before. I think if Lou would ever like write something and like he's in there trying to, like on some Dr. Dre shit, you know what I mean? Like how he worked with Eminem and he like you could hear Eminem's cadence through him and stuff like that.
You know, Dre didn't write it.
Yeah, or Kendrick, you could hear when like Kendrick wrote some stuff from too. Maybe I'd be the Dr. Dre role where it's like, as long as whatever I'm saying is true to what I feel. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna just like
say whatever, just
say whatever because you wrote it or whatever. But I don't know.
Even Ulysses is like, yo, bro, write something for me. I'm like, no, you gotta know how to actually, because there's the difference. If you writing something is one thing, but actually,
the flow.
I was gonna say
delivery,
but actually coming on the mic, but that sounds too much. But like actually, your cadence. And how you write. Like you could write really good jokes, but if you're on stage, and the delivery and the pauses, waiting for it, and everything, those things, especially for riding the beat and finding the ways to dig in and dig out.
I love those stuff more than the words sometimes. Not all the time. I love the words always, but like sometimes the right flow and like I don't know what they're saying, but that just sounds hard. Like, it makes a difference.
Well, like even something where it's like I don't listen to Future a lot, but when he was on Kendrick, he's like, slap up my nose, and I'm like, oh,
it's so hard.
It was like it's not even ruined the song, but it was the way he says it. Or like Kendrick has. Like the beat will switch in the middle, and then you'll just hear him put a
10 different
voice.
things, bro. He'll be in one ear over here,
and it literally sounds like he's talking to himself in so many different ways. Eminem did it too as well. It's just a different feeling to a track where people are not getting bored of it because they're waiting for.
Kendrick fucks around and throws reverse. Like in the beginning of a song. Wait, what? But it sounds hard. Like he's dope.
I keep telling Sabi he needs to continue with his production. Just continue to do it.
Dude, his production is fire, bro. I still got to finish up that session. We haven't.
Yes.
We
No, we definitely, now that side note, well, we're kind of like in my home studio, but definitely I want to get you in here and
Let's do
start
it.
creating in here. You know what I mean?
Dude, he like when you compare Sab's work to a person who's been doing it like Sab just started. This was doing it 5-10 years, and they're not even close, bro. Like you're in a it's innate, bro. You have like talent like for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm hyped.
The
to see where that
DJing's
goes.
helped. The DJing is definitely.
The
DJing's helped. The
Dude.
Yo, waterfall right now. That's the wrap it up sign right there. That's somebody taking a shower right now. They say wrap it up for now.
wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Yeah, we'll end on that note, man. I honestly like you. It was
Literally, someone's taking a shower.
Oh,
That's where it's going. Yeah.
How long
so
has it
bad.
been, by the way? How long? I don't even know.
Somebody taking a strong piss right now.
Flu, huh?
No, we're definitely over an hour.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Honestly, this was
Anytime that you want to come, well, just wait until somebody's
It's not gonna stop, bro. It's like the mic is not gonna pick it up.
The mic's not gonna pick it up. Anytime you want to come back, dude, honestly, like this was a really good conversation.
It's funny though.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you so much for having me, Phil. This was one of my favorite interviews of all time, podcasts of all time.
This is also the longest one you've done too, as well.
Yeah, there's some funny ones.
I'm gonna get out to one of the shows, man.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna get out to one of the shows where we're setting up something too, where I want to get you, Dario, on it,
Ooh.
and anything too as well, and even have like a round table where we just
Can I
kind of.
roast Dario when he gets there?
For
So we
sure.
can, like, a-
Yeah. I'm just gonna be in the back, just like making sure I don't get roasted. That's it. Yeah, but just have even a round table of comedians and just you guys just kind of just see it.
Yeah.
Like you ever seen? It's just to kind of make it drag a little bit longer.
Yeah.
You ever seen where they do like the poker table and there was like the comedians around there, Bill
Oh,
Burr and all
yeah,
those.
yeah.
Like that would just be so
Fun to watch.
genuine because it's you guys ripping on each other at that moment.
Dude, I would love it. Let's do it. I'm
Yeah.
there. You know what I mean?
So I appreciate it, bro. Thank you for coming
Thank you guys
through.
for having me, man.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it.
Hey, let's-
Sab, sign us out.
We are out. Radio Rejekts is back, and we're here to stay.
Yep.
Sir.